All right, guys, like I promised, I'm not doing any edits to these videos, so if something gets messed up or I just suck, I apologize. That's just part of it. Yoshi's in the background, right there, setting up a table because we're going to do a Starlink video for you guys, weighing options between the Mini, the Roam, and the Home version. Look, I'm not sponsored by Starlink. I should be because I pay them a lot of money every month. I just like the fact that there's redundant, very lightweight, man-packable now with the Mini options that if you're in a rural home like I am, that's the only option you have for internet because I don't have cable. But also if you're in the backcountry of Wasatch, for example, you could have a portable, man-packable version that you could use on the fly. I mean, you could be going 50 miles an hour in a truck in a back rural road and still have access to the internet. Now, what's cool about it is the contingency communications consideration, but also, man, I like having access. I like the portability and access to be connected to the world, and you don't have to have, an expensive program on an inReach. As long as you have your tablet, your phone, or whatever, and it's connected to Wi-Fi, then you're connected. So something to consider. There's also a lot of cool accessories that are coming out right now with especially Starlink Minis. I'll be testing one and showing you one called the Starbat that essentially is a 24-hour power pack that integrates the antenna, the system itself, into the lid of this setup, which waterproofs it, but allows you to just kind of throw it out there and get internet wherever you are, including mounts for mounting on top of UTVs and cars, etc. I want to say thank you, big shout out to everybody who supported Fieldcraft and their preparedness lifestyle with Fieldcraftsurvival.com. You guys crushed it for the holiday sales, taking advantage of all the opportunities. I mean, we had products up to 50% off, and that's still ongoing if you're interested. So, I almost slipped in my boots and busted my butt right here. So I want to say thank you for all the support. I am restructuring the company a lot. I want to say a little bit, but it's a lot. The focus is going to be on a lot of media. It's going to be on the Fieldcraft Survival App. In fact, Yoshi is going to film some episodes on personal and home defense. I already did a 3-part episodes at Fieldcraft HQ on center fed, corner fed, and door open and close considerations. But also I'm going to do a lot more and just, whether you have a family, you live in an apartment, whatever it may be, I want to prepare you guys, and using the Fieldcraft Survival App is one of the best ways we can engage with a broader audience. And again, I appreciate you guys' support on that. The Fieldcraft Survival App is available wherever apps are found, Android or iOS. I'll link that down below as well and make it easy for you guys. Let's talk about a couple things going on in the world. Hunter Biden's son was just, as of yesterday, December 1st, today's the 2nd, December 1st was his amnesty period to be pardoned from all crimes. These are convicted crimes, convicted felonies. What's interesting is the period is I think it's like December of 2014 to now. So a decade he is completely pardoned from, including the conviction of crimes that he pleaded guilty to. Now, are they serious, violent crimes? No. I mean, this dude did more damage to himself and likely the country than he did to anybody else. But let's talk about what he did. He had a tax evasion issue where he had $1.5 million, I think from Burisma, maybe from somebody else. But if you remember, Burisma is the Ukrainian-based company that he was using. Ironically, the period of amnesty begins like a month before this company stood up. It's just ironic how it worked out that way. But we're looking at $1.5 million that he made and $100,000 that he owed back taxes on that he didn't pay, right? Department of Justice went after him. If we take a step back, I personally, I'm gonna give an example, a personal example last week. Last week I walked into Fieldcraft HQ utilizing my company FFL. I tried to transfer into my name an AK made by Meridian Defense, my favorite AK company. So go to transfer this and I don't get delayed, I get denied. Now, why do I get denied? Well, it turns out that there was a clerical error. When this whole case got dismissed 4, 5, 6 months ago, they made a clerical error and didn't take a portion of it out of the system, which flagged in the system when I went to fill out the paperwork, which I did, and went to process it. So there's a organization called DCI that shut it down, and Garrett, my FFL guy, says, hey man, they're likely going to come here and investigate this. They're going to send an investigator here, a detective from Provo, which is ironic, and they're going to potentially contact you. So I think a couple days later, maybe the next day, I can't remember, I get a contact from basically an ATF agent. It's actually a state trooper who is sectioned out and working as an ATF official to do investigations based on these kind of things happening. Stepping back, as the system flagged it, it looks like a criminal walked into a gun store and tried to buy an AK, which is me. And so the denial is a direct denial. I went obviously to my lawyer, worked it on the back end to be like, hey, what's going on? They fixed the administrative error. They apologized, which is appropriate, for nearly putting me in handcuffs and booking me in jail. And then the guy I talked to, super cool, local guy, super squared away, wasn't aggressive, wasn't dramatic, was just telling me the matter of facts about how it worked, what they saw, and that it wouldn't be a problem in the future. That is the same crime that Hunter Biden got convicted and was about to be sentenced for, which is lying on a federal form. And I'm thinking, based on him being the president's son, where they would not hold him above the law, they would have put his butt in jail or in prison, federal prison, for years. So, okay. There's a dilemma for me. Not a dilemma for the circumstances, but for me personally. Because if I put myself in Biden's shoes, what would I do? Well, if it was my son and it was those two specific crimes that I just lined out, I'm going to pardon my son. The difference is I'm not the president of the United States. He is. The biggest difference is he told the American people during an ABC interview during the 80th anniversary of D-Day in June, he said on an ABC interview he wouldn't pardon his son. And it's so funny because even women from The View came out here and were talking their big talk because they said Hunter Biden is not above the law. Biden has already came out and disseminated this information through his press secretary, through everybody, even stating it himself. And that's how we roll. That's essentially what they're saying. That's how we roll. Except he just went back on all of that. Now what are the talking points? All of a sudden it's crickets. All of a sudden it's crickets that if you're a bureaucrat or a politician, you are personally above the law. Me or you gets rolled up in some stuff dealing with federal crimes, you better believe me or you would go to prison. I mean, I almost went to jail and got booked because if I got pulled over with my spouse, they would have saw that flagged in the system off of an administrative error, which I've talked about in depth on the Mike Glover podcast, which I've kicked back up, by the way. I talked about it in the episode before the last one, where DCFS, Department of Child and Family Services, went after me because of a clerical error. Again, one, there happens to be another Michael A. Glover in the system. I even saw people on Facebook talking about how bad of a person and the criminology that I had associated with me, except that wasn't me. And the fact that the clerical error was made and they justified that error to take my son. So if it's me and you, we're held to a different standard than if it's a bureaucrat or politician. I've seen military guys, government guys, lose their careers over these clerical errors. I've seen guys talk back to their first line supervisor, get kicked out of country, get UCMA action, and then get dishonorably discharged because of it. Actually doing the right thing. But if you're a bureaucrat, you're a politician, you get amnesty, you get pardon, you get into the cool guy club, and you get off on everything. You could botch an exit out of a country, get Americans killed, not respond to Americans, do all these egregious things. You could be on Epstein Island, you could be at a Diddy party, and you completely have amnesty. Except there's this little thing called, it's actually a big thing called Kash Patel. Now, a lot of people are saying, especially on the legacy left, especially The Guardian, they just released a news article this morning because they're trying to shape the narrative. I mean, when did these dudes figure out their time is up? You not only lost, but now we know your plot, your game, and you're not going to get away with it. And so what does The Guardian do this morning? They release a headline that says, conspiracy theorist Kash Patel is going to be potentially the director of the FBI. One, he is going to be the director of FBI. Two, he's super qualified. He was a federal prosecutor. He's got a law degree. He's got all the academics backed with he was the Deputy Secretary of Defense. He was the senior advisor to the Director of National Intelligence. He, after 2020, was working with a nonprofit that he started to go after a legal prosecution of American patriots. So like, this dude has the academic experience, the experience, and brings a lot to the table. And he'll be the youngest acting director of the FBI in history at the age of 44. I'm like 30 days older than he is. Actually, I'm actually a couple weeks older than he is. And he's going to be one of the first, I think the first Indian minority to lead the FBI. And that's a bad thing? Well, it's a bad thing if you're on the radical left. You know why? Because everything is about to be exposed. So if you're legacy media, you're going out of your way to shape the narrative because you don't want him to be in charge. Because once he gets in, he's going to discover a few things. The first thing he's going to discover is Hunter Biden, that worked with a company that was literally stood up acting as a consultant to portal access and placement to the President of the United States. His dad is literally going to be unraveled and flipped upside down. The Russian hoax, where I think it was 50 plus intelligence community, likely case officers came out, senior case officers came out and said it was a hoax and there's no such thing as the laptop. He's going to come out and he's going to unravel all of that. The Epstein Island list, he's going to find it. He's going to discover it. He's going to see who's responsible. He's going to go after the right people, not the wrong people. There's people now setting the narrative on the legacy left that are saying they're going to go after the Constitution. No. That's what you guys did. They're actually going to defend the Constitution, a legalized lawfare, amnesty, and all this disgusting behavior by the Department of Justice and the FBI. The same FBI that called me a militia violent extremist organization ran and likely colluded and supported an article that was written and published by USA Today saying I was a right-wing extremist and a white supremacist, which is funny. I mean, I'm halfway there. So I look at this and I go, oh, they're scared of this dude because he's going to expose the truth. Burisma was supporting all the finances and all the execution of all the things happening in the infrastructure buildup in Ukraine using a portal of communication to the President of the United States, which is a conflict of interest. At the same time, the President of the United States was propping up support in excess of now $56 billion of support to Ukraine, supporting the military-industrial complex to profit for all that are involved. And that's not corrupt. That's not the answers or the investigation that we should be looking into. Of course it is. But here we are. So all the people on the radical left that were saying we hold ourselves to a higher standard, do you really? And finally, what should this lead to? Should it lead to lawfare and retaliation? No, I don't think that will ever happen. Just as I don't think Trump was a fascist, i.e. he had 4 years and he never did that. In fact, he was on his heels the entire time dealing with the Russian hoax. What should happen? Well, let's look at J6, where we have American patriots, not the ones who vandalize and destroying government property and assaulted police officers, but even them, like, charge them for the crimes they committed. All this extra work, I've never seen a federal organization go after people so fast and so hard. People who are peacefully protesting and just present are literally rolled up and in federal prison. So should we expect a pardon? As a law-abiding citizen who doesn't get the benefit of government, bureaucracy, and being a politician, I think so. It would be fair to do that. It would be fair to look at it in its totality as the Supreme Court weighed in and go, a lot of this is illegal. Most of these people need to be pardoned completely and pulled out of federal prison. Some of which who have been in federal prison for years. Years. Some of which have been in federal prison and have been incarcerated in small boxes in federal prison because they are looked at as terrorists when they should be looked at as patriots. Again, I'm not talking about the violent people that were assaulting police officers. I'm talking about the overwhelming majority of people that were just there, that never even crossed the barricades, that are sitting in federal prison right now, right? That's a reasonable expectation. That's a reasonable expectation. Let me show you guys a preview of what we got going on here. So I don't know if I told you guys this, but I'm building a goat, sheep, and horse pole barn. My buddy John let me borrow this excavator. This very expensive toy out. I can't even point. Everything's opposite here. Yeah, there it is right there. That very expensive toy right there, because I want to get into doing a little bit of homestead content for you guys. But here is the setup. I can't do any of this in reverse, Yoshi. I suck at this. But here it is right here. This is the Starbat system I was telling you guys about. And what's cool about this is the antenna integrates into the top of that, which allows you to power this and just throw it out there. Obviously weatherproof. And it has solar panels that link into it as well. Again, that's just content that's coming to you here in the near future. If you guys are interested, I'm doing a whole bunch of activity on Patreon. I'll be doing an underground episode of this episode after I film this behind me. You guys can catch it at patreon.com/Mike Glover. Tell me how you really feel about Joe Biden's son Hunter being pardoned and us or them not being held to the same standard because they're above the law. Until next time, peace out, guys.